Welcome to the Irishman, Englishman and Scotsman Football Podcast. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Irishman, Englishman and Scotsman Football Podcast. A few days before Christmas, all the way from sunny Scotland. Finno, how you doing?
Yeah, not as good as last time. Yeah, just prepping for lockdown.
Lockdown in Brighton as well, Joe.
I think it's coming tier 4 pretty soon, I would imagine, yeah, unfortunately.
And in sunny Spain, Kev.
Yeah, not too terrible here, down in Alicante, back with the family, so raring to go.
Good stuff. We'll crack on. We're going to preview and have a quick look back at last weekend as always. And starting at the King Power, cracker of a game, huge game, 1:30 p.m. Leicester against Manchester United. Leicester, huge win against Tottenham. Man United look really good in attack against Leeds. But Man United are away from home. They're on a run. If they win this, they're up to second, 2 points behind Liverpool. At the start of the season, we were calling for Ole's head. Which way is this one going to go, Joe?
Well, I think we're at the stage now where do we have to realistically call Manchester United title contenders? You know, they're on a fantastic run. They're up into the top 3. Going forward, they seem to have a lot of goals in that team. I know there were a few kind of question marks when he left Pogba and a few other players out, but they seem to have a good squad of players. Having said that, I think Leicester look fantastic against Tottenham. I think they've beaten Arsenal, Chelsea and Spurs back to back or something like that. So massive credit to Brendan Rodgers because they did have a little blip. So I think it's going to be a really intriguing game, but I think I'm going to have to go for Leicester. They just seem to be in such fantastic form and they've got big game players in the likes of Jamie Vardy.
I don't know if Leicester have enough in the tank. You know, I think they probably expended quite a lot in that Tottenham result. But I am going to go for a Man United win, reverting to type, classic. Leicester to score first, Man United to come from behind away from home and leapfrog them in the table. And they'll have that game in hand. You know, Leicester, yeah, it was a good result against Tottenham, but Man United, I think, yeah, they really have started to turn the corner. They looked good going forward against Leeds. I don't know how they are at the back, but they certainly seem to have shored themselves up a little bit. So yeah, I think a Man United win here.
I think you mentioned earlier on about blips, right? So a lot of teams have managed to put together 4 or 5 good results, and then, you know, it's disappeared. Right, so we've seen this. We'll get on to talking about Spurs. We'll get on to talking about Chelsea. We've been talking a lot, Leicester City earlier on. We've been talking a lot about these teams who seem like they're just about to kick on. United are the latest, right? United, I think it's 4 wins and a draw from their last 5. We've been talking about how great their away record was, but now it's just their record as a whole. So they look like they're about to do it, absolutely. But this is the trick, can they? Because no one so far has. Like, absolutely no one has put together one of those runs. If I had to bet, I just wonder if Leicester might be a little bit too canny for them. So don't get me wrong, I fancy this United team. We've been bigging them up a little bit over the past 2 or 3 weeks, really, talking about what an amazing, resilient group of players they've got, and now they're starting to turn it on. But I just wonder, just purely by that, you know, you kind of I've expected this to happen to everyone. Basically, everyone's put together 4 or 5 great results, and then it's gone back. So I wouldn't be all that surprised if Leicester just managed to do them in this one.
I'm going to go for Man United, like Finno said. I think they've got so much firepower. Now, defensively, they're very vulnerable. But that's going in bearing in mind. Like, that game against Leeds, for me, was the game of the season by a mile. Leeds were, down and out, 4-0 down at half-time. They could have scored 10 goals in the game. And Man United could have scored 20. Leeds attacked. David De Gea pulled off some world-class saves. Anthony Martial was one-on-one with the Leeds keeper, 2, 3, 4 occasions. Man United could have scored. It was a cracking game. Vulnerable in defence. Man United will counter, Leicester will counter. It's going to be a cracking game. But I think United have too much power, especially in midfield. And I'm going for a Man United win. 2 games at 4 o'clock. Aston Villa against Palace. Villa with an impressive win against West Brom. Crystal Palace fell apart against Liverpool. Kev, yeah, I'll go for a home win here, lads.
This will be a massive test of like Roy Hodgson's experience, to see your team lose 7-0. I think afterwards he called it demoralising, humiliating. It's a really tough job to try and pick, to try and pick your players up after being absolutely thumped. Having said that, Liverpool can do that when they're on it. They can do it to any team in the league. But I think It'll be really interesting to see how Crystal Palace bounce back from that. I agree. I think Villa obviously ruined Big Sam's first match in charge of West Brom, and I think that they'll carry that on and beat Palace.
I watched a bit of the game at the weekend against Liverpool before the floodgates opened, and actually they had some nice chances. I think Ayew at 1-0 had a really good chance to equalise it, and if that goes in, then it's a totally different football game. But yeah, I agree. I think Villa here, too strong against West Brom. I think they've really missed Benteke, and I don't think Zaha has been firing as well as he could be. Mixed form with Ayew, I think, yeah, a Villa home win.
Right, moving on. Fulham against Southampton, also at 4 o'clock Central European time. Fulham really impressed me against Newcastle. They just controlled the whole game. Newcastle couldn't touch them. Pass. Now, a lot of these passes were in across their own 18, 20-yard box, 20-yard line. And really, Scott Parker playing some great football. And up until the red card, I thought Fulham were easy winners. Against Liverpool, they're very impressive. Probably should have won that as well. They're on a little bit of a run. They're unbeaten. Southampton, Joe.
We played really well against Man City and probably actually deserved something from the game. I can't say that we deserve to win it, but I think a point wouldn't have been completely unfair. It's just I think Man City have now found a defence that really works for them. They look really solid. I'm expecting a really tough game against Fulham. Like you say, Fulham are unbeaten in 3, I think. They've drawn their last 3. So I'm expecting a tough game, but I would hope that we would have enough to come through. I think Danny Ings obviously went off against Man City, so that's a bit of a concern. Maybe wasn't the greatest idea to start him 3 games within 7 days coming back from injury. Probably not the wisest decision. Even though we haven't won any of our last 2 games, we've still been playing well. So I would hope that we would have enough to beat Fulham.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go for Fulham here. I think they're just on this run of form, and I think they're going out of the relegation zone. I think they're going to stay up. Well, Arsenal just doesn't get any easier for Arsenal, does it? They're playing Chelsea 6:30, and they're on a horror run of form, and I can't see things improving any quicker for Mikel Arteta. Surely this is a Chelsea win, Finno.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that they've found their main striker, Chelsea, and he was there all along in Tammy Abraham. They played some really nice stuff against West Ham. Their third goal especially was incisive, it was quick, there was some nice touches, and a really great finish from Abraham. Yeah, Arsenal are calamitous at the moment. I don't think there's any other word really to describe them. So, they've also got a big game against Man City in the League Cup. Potential for the legs to get sapped a bit more energy whilst Chelsea recover. Yeah, I can see this being a Chelsea win.
What has to happen is Arsenal have to win, right? It's. I don't even think it's about putting in a decent performance anymore. I don't even think about it. It's about getting a draw. Even if they were 4-0 down and came back and drew 4-4, even if they were super unlucky and had 8 goals disallowed by dodgy VAR decisions, I think they have to beat them. I think that's otherwise. It's coming time where people at that club have to make a decision. We talked a little bit in previous weeks about the benefit of making a decision before you hit actual crisis point, and the jokes that we were all making from Roy Keane, all the way up to Joe here, the real authority on football, all saying the same joke quite rightly, that, oh, maybe they're too good to go down. But are they? Honestly, now? Would you really bet that much against it right now, looking at this team and that lack of discipline? And I just think, Jesus, they need to show they can scrap and somehow claw out a win. And the only thing I suppose I'd say is, they've had some bad performances, but most of their bad performances have not necessarily come against, they've sometimes been able to put together a decent performance against the bigger teams. So I can't even predict what's going to happen other than, obviously if I was betting on it, I would have to put my money on Chelsea. But at the same time, I just think the reaction has to come. So maybe it will in a perverse sort of way.
Yeah, I don't think they have the players to win that way, to fight, you know what I mean? Like Burnley, ever since Joe spoke to Sean Dyche a few weeks ago, Burnley are flying. They're clawing their way out of the relegation zone. Fulham now as well are playing well. For me, Sheffield United need a massive turnaround. West Brom, Big Sam might do something. So it's very easy to drop in there, which leads me to my next point. Man City against Newcastle, and really worries me. This game, not just this game. Now, they're missing the club captain, Jamal Lascelles, and the best player, the guy who can hold the ball up in Alain Saint-Maximin. they're clearly against Fulham. They looked totally out of it, no ideas at all. They were looking to get a draw because of the red card and the penalty, but without that, Newcastle were going to be, I think, hammered by Fulham. No ideas. Maxima makes a huge difference. I expect him to lose to Brentford tonight. I don't want to do Kevin go balking, but Brentford are unbeaten in 13. They're up near the top of the championship, and I think the way, like I said, Burnley and Fulham are on a run. Newcastle, well, the next few games are Man City, Liverpool and Leicester, and they could very, very easily get dropped into that relegation zone. And then come January, it could be Steve Bruce's name that people are saying he's got to go. Finno.
But it's only been a couple of weeks since Steve Bruce led Newcastle to their best start to a season since Benitez. And I feel like Newcastle are a team that play up to their opponents as much as they play down to opponents. So yes, I could see Brentford being a really tough game, but I could also see you guys giving Man City a decent run for it. And I felt like City at the weekend, they tried too hard to score the perfect goal against Southampton. You know, they really tried to walk the ball into the net, and they need to just be a bit more ruthless. And then I could see that kind of more one-sided result. That being said, when Newcastle have played, you know, the top 4, top 6, they have tended to lose, and by a couple of clear goals. So yeah, I would probably say that City have enough here, but I don't think it'll be a walkover.
Going back to Kev, you talk about Liverpool's injuries, you know, a few weeks ago, how bad it was. They still had world-class players on the pitch. Newcastle don't have those players. Hayden, who had COVID, also, he looked down and out there at half-time, or 2 weeks ago against Leeds. Also, you know, showing the effects of COVID. And now, like I said, Maxima and the captain Lascelles also have COVID. So Newcastle are not favourites tonight in the bookies in the League Cup quarter final against Brentford. They're not. Brentford are actually favourites, but because of the next 2 games, like I think if you're looking at the start of the season, it might just be okay. Look, we'll give it a go, but this is our last chance to do something this season. So they have to go for it against Brentford tonight and try and hope that a miracle happens and you pick something up against Man City, who now are starting to play, and Liverpool are starting to play. It's a bad time to play them. Sheffield United against Everton. This is a no-brainer. I think the final at the same time as Newcastle, actually, 9 p.m. Central European time, Saturday night. Sheffield United rock bottom, no look. Everton are picking up points again, and I think that the Everton train will roll on, Kev.
Yeah, I mean, 3 wins in a row for Everton, who've just got it back, got their mojo back, haven't they? However it happens. Sheffield United, you always sort of think, they seem to have played pretty well against good teams, don't they? They were they're certainly ahead against Liverpool, if memory serves. They've been ahead again, you know, in really big games. And I suppose their luck's got to turn, you know, at some point. But, you know, Everton, if they are looking tasty again, then yeah, surely they'll have too much fun. I agree with you.
Yeah, opening game on Sunday, 1 o'clock, Leeds against Burnley. Leeds are so good to watch. Either the last 2 games were against Newcastle, of course, and Man United. I mean, they were down and out, they're getting hammered, but they just attack. It's the only way they know how to play. You know, I mean, defensively, they're shambles, but they break so quick. And yeah, they score goals. So Burnley are on form. The Burnley style of sitting back won't work here either. So I'm going to go for a convincing Leeds win in this one.
Leeds, it was 6-2 going on about 8-5. United just took their chances, and obviously being 2 goals down in 3 minutes doesn't really help Leeds' case. One little tidbit of information that I found on social media whilst I was doing some research. The last time that Bielsa conceded 6 goals in a game, fans turned up at his door and he threatened them with a hand grenade. So it just shows the craziness of the man and the kind of the eccentricity of him. Burnley, though, you know, since Ben Mee has come back for them, they've only lost 1 in 7. And, you know, and that was to Man City. They're out of the relegation zone. They're unbeaten in 4 games now. They're only a point behind Arsenal. I can see them getting a point here, if not all 3 against Leeds.
I'm with you, Finno. I think they could do something. I just wanted to say something I read on Twitter during the game at the weekend, which was Paul Heaton, he of the House Martins, for those of you who go back a few years, or if not, various Beautiful South and so on, called it Man United versus Man Bun United. Which I thought was great because it reminded me of that first day of the season when all the Leeds players turned up with these massive top knots. But anyway, yeah, no, I love Leeds in a way. Like I said, they always manage to cause the big teams problems. But I said right at the start, they're going to be in massive trouble this season if they defend like that. And yeah, I think this pragmatic Burnley side actually will look at this and think, wow, this is, we can continue this really nice run of form we're on, and my money's on Burnley definitely.
West Ham beaten by Chelsea last weekend. Finno, this is a nice fixture to return. 3:15 against Brighton at home.
Yeah, although I'm going to go back to being my kind of miserable, pessimistic self. After last time being hopeful that we could get a result against Chelsea. Look, we played okay, and there were a few decisions that could have gone our way, but really we didn't look close to winning, and we didn't really look like we were close to taking points from the game. So in true pessimistic style, a draw, hopefully that we get more.
Oh, God.
I don't think West Ham will have too much trouble against Brighton. I think you can't underestimate how bad. So Sheffield United had a player sent off on 40 minutes, and this is Sheffield United who haven't won a game all season, bottom of the league, and Brighton needed a goal in the last 5 minutes from Danny Welbeck to get a draw. So that was really a bad result for Brighton. I think confidence-wise, they're really struggling. They can't score goals. So I just can't see West Ham having too many problems with them, unfortunately.
You wonder whether or not it's actually the changing of the season. So the fact that it's winter, the pitch is going to be a bit worse for wear now that it's not, midsummer or autumn when there's nice luscious green grass. And teams like Brighton, where they play some really nice stuff, ball on the floor, and it's a bit more ponderous, whether or not the turned up grass is starting to cause them some problems in actually moving that ball from back to front.
Potentially, but I just think Graham Potter doesn't quite know his best team yet. It always raises eyebrows when the manager changes the goalkeeper for big games during season. He seems to be switching between Sanchez and Ryan, which always kind of rings a few alarm bells when you're changing the keeper. So I just think he's just not quite sure which way to go. So I think this will be another West Ham win.
5:30 Central European time on Sunday. Liverpool 7-0 winners against Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park, against West Brom, who can't buy a win for Christmas. Sam Allardyce, no luck. Surely you can't balk your way out of this one, Kev.
Well, normally it's not just that. Normally I like to put a cheeky bet on Liverpool losing, just in that classic way of, it'll improve. My day won't be totally spoiled. And I imagine the odds on this one will be quite generous, right? West Brom will not really be fancying this one. And not just because Liverpool won 7-0, but because they've got themselves a nice long rest now, haven't they? So they played at the weekend. It's 6 or 7 days without a game. Oh, I think Liverpool will be nice and refreshed for this. But what I sort of read has happened in the dressing room a little bit over the last couple of weeks is, remember we talked about potential turning points in the Liverpool season, and maybe it was that Tottenham one where it just felt like some of that I mentioned last week, some of that mysterious, or the mystique had come back to a Liverpool side, and they were just ready to capture, whatever it was you want to call it. Well, it does look like that, but I don't think these things are magic. I think what they are is the dressing room has come together again, and so we can't afford to have the sort of start we've had on a couple of away days recently. You guys mentioned the Fulham game, and I think in the Brighton game as well. And it was just like really slow, and they didn't show that kind of alacrity that you expect from them, and they have been showing in home games. Like I say, in home games all season, they've been really good. It would be pretty astonishing if they don't win. But the only thing is, Klopp, he'll probably rest a few players. It'll probably be a slightly odd-looking team. So you never know. There might be, again, that they need a couple of players off the bench to get it over the line is all.
We talked in the last couple of podcasts about Mane as well, but it was good to see him, putting in a really good performance. 0 points from the first 2 games for Big Sam, I think, is pretty much nailed on. I wouldn't even bother wasting your money on a bet for West Brom.
You wouldn't, the odds would have been similar to when West Brom went to Man City 2 games ago, and they were fantastic and, got a point at the Etihad. So you never know. There's been some very strange results this season, but obviously you would expect Liverpool to win and win well.
They got a point at the Etihad and then sacked their manager. The final game of the weekend is Wolves against Tottenham, 8:15. Wolves beaten again at the weekend against Tottenham, who've lost the last 2 now. We were bigging them up all season, but I was in particular, and Finno, and now they've turned into a poor man's Burnley. So it's hard to know which way this one's going to go. I'm going to go for Spurs to get back on the wagon. I have to say that they looked really blunt against Leicester. They had Bale on, they had Kane, Song. Second half, Leicester mopped everything up, hit them on the break. excuse me, I think it was Maddison was very unlucky with, I think, a VAR not to score a cracking goal. Finno.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see and I think I probably cursed them a little bit by saying their expected goals ratio was minuscule, and they'd converted considerably more goals than they should have, expected to over the first few games of the season. I think we're actually just starting to see that kind of coming home to roost a little bit for Tottenham. That's 1 point in 9 that they've taken, and I know I tipped them for the title if they were top by a point or so at Christmas time. 1 point in 9 is not title-winning form, and both teams here. Wolves also seem to be in a bit of free fall. Like, I could easily see this being a Wolves win and a handsome Wolves win, or a handsome Tottenham win.
I think for Tottenham, Harry Kane looked a bit tired. They have played a lot of games with the Europa League as well. But having said that, Wolves just they do seem very blunt, don't they, without Raul Jimenez. So I would think that Tottenham will find a way to win this one, but I don't think it will be a pretty expansive game.
Yeah, Spurs win, Kev.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, like you say, both sides really unpredictable. I just imagine that probably Mourinho will be able to put the fear of God into his players a bit more, than his opposite number. I think they'll be on iron rations. There'll be no booze. Obviously there'll be no parties because they're in tier 7 or whatever it is. And I reckon they'll be confined to barracks for the entire time, and he'll probably get them, playing just well enough to eke out a 2-1, I think.
That rounds up the games for this weekend, folks. But we can't leave you without our own Christmas cracker. What have you got, Kev?
I'm going to apologise for this one.
Oh, he's got a guitar. He's got a guitar.
This is absolutely ridiculous. I can't believe I'm going to even try doing this. So here we go. This is called Football. All I Want for Christmas Is You. So here we go. I don't want a lot for Christmas. There is just one thing I need. A 7-0 v Crystal Palace, followed by 6-2 v Leeds. I live for all these crazy scores, but I'll take the dourest 0-0 draws, even crap VAR reviews, 'cause all I want for Christmas is you. All right, that's enough Mariah Carey. Let's get back to what's at hand. A look back at the 14th match week when Liverpool, with real command and form that bordered on the callous, struck 7 times v Crystal Palace. Their attacking trio shone. Has all hope for the chasing pack now gone? Well, 4 points back are Leicester City after their fine win v Spurs, who've now lost 2 games in succession as Vardy caught them unawares. Tottenham have 1 win in 5. Are their title hopes even alive? They need to fire again, because United look a better bet than them. 2-0 up v Leeds in seconds, through the deft McTominay. Bruno Fernandes exquisite, on and on they dominate. More and more a lethal threat. They could be worth a serious bet, but all my nightmares would come true if they're going to make a title challenge too. Chelsea get the best of West Ham in the Lampard derby game. Everton too strong for Arsenal. Arteta must accept some blame. There's something that I have to ask. Is this the end now for the Basque? It could be time to make a call. Will he make it past Christmas at all? We don't want a lot this Yuletide. Football fans just need a stream. With all the games coming thick and fast now, there's soon a chance to watch your team. And no, they may not always win. They may leave you reaching for the gin. But there's hope beneath the tree with English football each day on TV. Football is the only bright spot at this bleakest time of year. Brexit, COVID, Boris Johnson, enough to get rid of all your cheer. But there's some hope for every mourner. Boxing Day's around the corner. Make all our dreams come true. 'Cause football, all I want for Christmas is you. Apologies.
Brilliant stuff, Kev. Brilliant stuff. Joe, thank you very much.
Thank you, JP.
Finno, thank you.
Cheers, guys. Merry Christmas.
Kev, super. Thanks a lot. So, guys, everyone
Pleasure.
listening, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. We'll be back maybe Monday, possibly Tuesday. But to everyone listening, from all of us here at the Irishman, Englishman, and Scotsman Football Podcast, we wish you all a Merry Christmas and enjoy the games. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to hear more of our podcasts, please click on the red subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side. Thank you.